The crystal chandeliers hang like frozen waterfalls, spilling golden light across a sea of tuxedos and silk gowns. Champagne flutes clink, soft as distant thunder, while laughter floats above the string quartet's velvet notes. Then the doors swing wide, and Richard Harlan strides in, tuxedo cut sharp enough to slice the room in half. Every head turns, every smile widens. He is the sun and they are moths, but his eyes, cold and gray as winter steel, snap to the entrance. There she stands. Elena, his driver, black uniform pressed crisp, cap tucked under one arm, shoulders squared like she belongs. The room holds its breath. Richard's face twists. "You call this service?" His voice cracks like a whip across marble. "You're nothing but a shadow in my empire. Get out of my sight." He shoves her hard. Elena stumbles, heels skidding, dignity spilling across the floor like cheap wine. Gasps ripple outward. 1,000 diamond-crusted eyes stab into her skin. She bites her lips so hard the taste of copper blooms, says nothing, just straightens. The silence after the slap is louder than the slap itself. Rewind the tape. 6 months earlier, dawn still bruising the sky purple, Elena kisses her sleeping son on the forehead, slips out the cracked apartment door, and slides behind the wheel of a midnight blue Rolls. The pay is triple anything she's ever earned, enough to keep the lights on, the fridge stocked, the eviction notices at bay. Richard Harlan never says good morning. He barks directions, snaps at traffic, calls her girl like she's 12. She swallows it. Every insult, every sneer. Because her boy needs braces and dreams don't pay dentist bills. She learns the rhythm of his cruelty, the way his jaw tightens when the stock ticker dips, the way he tosses $100 tips to valets but won't meet her eyes in the rear view. She keeps a tiny notebook in the glove box, jotting mileage, gas, and every slight. Pages fill like a quiet storm gathering ink. Back in the ballroom, the orchestra pretends nothing happened and soars into a waltz. Richard laughs too loud, claps a senator on the back, swirls amber liquid in a glass that costs more than Elena's rent. His cronies chuckle on cue. "Can you believe the nerve?" one hisses, pearls flashing, showing up like she's staff and guest in the same breath. Elena stands by the coat check, spine straight, pulse drumming in her ears. A waiter offers a silver tray of canapés. She waves it away. Hunger is an old friend. She watches Richard glide from cluster to cluster, king of a kingdom built on other people's sweat. The chandeliers blur. For a second, she's 10 years old again, standing in the school cafeteria while richer kids point and whisper about hand-me-down shoes. Same heat in her cheeks, same iron in her resolve. A woman in emerald silk drifts close, perfume thick as money. "Sweetheart," she coos, voice dripping syrup. The service entrance is around back. Elena meets her gaze steady. "I know where it is, ma'am. I park there every day." The woman blinks, flustered, retreats into the glitter. Laughter swells again, but it's thinner now, threaded with unease. Elena's fingers tighten around her cap. She feels the weight of every stare, every unspoken rule that says she should shrink, apologize, vanish. Instead, she breathes. In through the nose, out through the mouth, the way her grandmother taught her when bill collectors banged on the door. The air tastes like orchids and entitlement. Richard catches her watching. His smile falters just a flicker before he raises his glass in mock toast. "To loyalty," he calls, voice booming. The crowd echoes, oblivious. Elena does not flinch. Inside, something shifts, like a gear sliding into place. She thinks of her son's crayon drawing taped to the fridge, a stick-figure mom in a cape driving a rocket ship. She thinks of the notebook in the glove box, pages crammed with dates, times, cruelties. She thinks of the flash drive tucked in her bra, warm against her skin, copied from Richard's laptop during last week's emergency airport run. Bank transfers, offshore accounts, names that would make headlines bleed. She hadn't planned to use it, not yet, but plans bend when pride snaps. The quartet crescendos. Couples swirl across the floor, gowns flaring like peacock tails. Elena steps forward just one step into the light. Heads turn again. Richard's brow creases. "Something on your mind, driver?" he sneers, loud enough for the front row. The room hushes. Elena's voice, when it comes, is soft iron. "Just wondering, Mr. Harlan, how a man sleeps at night knowing his empire's built on shadows he refuses to see." A collective inhale. Someone drops a fork. It clinks like a gunshot. Richard's face purples. "You're fired," he hisses, Pack your things, and Elena cuts him off, calm as winter rain. I quit. She pulls the flash drive from her pocket, holds it between two fingers like a playing card. But first, maybe ask your guests how they feel about tax havens in the Caymans. The senator beside Richard coughs into his scotch. Chaos blooms slow, then fast. Phones rise like periscopes. Whispers explode into murmurs, murmurs into shouts. Richard lunges, but security, his own security, hesitates. Elena backs toward the door, cap still in hand, eyes never leaving his. You think you're untouchable, she says, voice carrying over the din. But every empire casts a shadow, and shadows remember. She turns, walks out through the grand foyer, past the ice sculptures melting into puddles of forgotten elegance. The night air slaps her cheeks, cool and clean. Behind her, the ballroom doors swing shut, muffling the uproar. She slides into the rolls, engine purring like an old friend. For the first time in months, she smiles, real, wide, fierce. The city lights stretch ahead, a river of possibility. Her phone buzzes, a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Channel 9 News. She exhales, long and slow. The rearview mirror catches her eyes, bright, unafraid. Somewhere inside the gala, Richard Harlan is learning that money buys silence, but not memory. That power bends only until the underdog decides the weight is enough. Elena shifts into drive. The car glides forward, tires whispering over pavement. She thinks of her son, of braces and rocket ships, of every sunrise she earned with swallowed pride. The notebook rides shotgun now, pages fluttering like wings. The flash drive sits in the cup holder, a tiny black bomb ticking toward morning headlines. She cracks the window. Wind rushes in, carrying away the scent of orchids and cruelty. Ahead, traffic lights blink green, then green again. She presses the pedal. The city opens wide, and somewhere in the dark between street lamps, a single mother-turned reckoning rolls toward dawn, headlights cutting through every lie the night tried to sell her. The shadow drives, the shadow remembers, and tomorrow the whole world will finally see. The rain lashes the windshield like 1,000 tiny fists, wipers fighting a losing battle. Elena's knuckles whiten on the steering wheel, the city's neon bleeding red and blue across the glass. In the backseat, Richard Harlan scrolls his phone, thumbs flicking like switchblades. Drive faster, you incompetent fool, he snaps, voice slicing through the jazz on low volume. A ball of crumpled paper sails past her ear, lands on the passenger mat. She doesn't flinch, doesn't look, just eases the rolls through the slick intersection, tires hissing secrets to the wet pavement. Inside her chest, something coils tighter than the storm outside. 3 days before the gala, the sky still clear, Richard barks orders from the leather throne behind her. Airport, now, and lose the perfume, it's cheap. Elena's fingers drum once on the wheel, then still. She catches his eyes in the mirror, cold, impatient, already somewhere else. She shifts gears. The engine purrs obedience. She thinks of the photo tucked in her wallet. Her daughter, gap-toothed smile, arms wide like the world is a hug waiting to happen. That smile is the only light she lets herself carry into these long nights. Morning boardroom, 32nd floor, glass walls framing the city like a postcard Richard owns. Elena stands by the door, cap in hand, uniform starched stiff. The executives file in, Italian leather shoes clicking. Richard waves a lazy hand. Gentlemen, meet the help. Found her in some back alley, I think. Laughter erupts, polished and cruel. One man slaps the table, tie clip flashing. Elena's gaze drifts across their faces, slow, deliberate. She sees the joke land, sees the way they lean in, hungry for the next punchline. Her accent, soft Georgia lilt, becomes a prop. Say something, driver, Richard goads, grinning. Tell them how grateful you are. Silence stretches, thick as cigar smoke. Elena's lips part. Grateful keeps the lights on, sir, she says, voice low, steady. The room quiets, someone coughs. Richard's smile freezes, then thins. Know your place, he mutters, turning back to his slides. Elena's stare burns a hole in the back of his neck, long after the projector clicks off. Night falls heavy. The private garage beneath the tower smells of oil and wet concrete. Elena parks, kills the engine, sits in the sudden hush. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead. She pulls the wallet photo, traces her daughter's crayon son with a thumb smudged in grease. One day, baby, she whispers to the empty car. One day he'll see. The words taste like iron and hope. Storm hits the highway 2 nights later, thunder cracking the sky open. A rear tire blows sharp pop, then the sickening wobble. Elena eases onto the shoulder, hazard lights blinking like a heartbeat. Rain needles down. She pops the trunk, wrestles the spare. Richard lowers his window just enough to sneer. Fix it, now. He stays inside, umbrella open, shielding his $5,000 suit. Water streams off Elena's cap, soaks her collar, runs cold down her spine. She jacks the car, muscles burning, mud sucking at her shoes, lightning forks. In the flash, she sees him watching, arms crossed, lips curled. "You're worthless," he hisses, loud enough to ride the wind. The lug nut slips, skin splits on her knuckle. Blood mixes with rain. She tightens the last bolt, stands slow. Water streams from her lashes. She meets his eyes through the glass. "Or what?" she asks, voice cutting clean through the downpour. Thunder answers for him. Richard's mouth opens, closes. The umbrella tilts. Rain finds his shoulder. He yanks the window up, disappears behind tinted glass. Back on the road, the silence is heavier than the storm. Elena's hands tremble, but not from cold. She thinks of her mother scrubbing floors in a white woman's house, humming gospel to keep the rage from spilling. Thinks of the father who vanished before her first breath, leaving only a name she never speaks. Thinks of every "yes, sir" she swallowed like broken glass. The city lights smear into watercolor. She blinks them clear. Next morning, Richard's penthouse office, floor-to-ceiling windows framing dawn. Elena delivers coffee, black, 2 sugars, no cream. He doesn't look up from his laptop. "The gala's tomorrow, don't embarrass me." She sets the cup down, steam curling between them. "Wouldn't dream of it, sir." Her voice is honey over gravel. He finally glances, catches something in her eyes, something that makes him shift in his chair. "Remember who signs your checks," he warns. Elena smiles, small, sharp. "Every zero, Mr. Harlan, every single one." Afternoon traffic crawls. Richard on a call, voice booming about stock prices and private jets. Elena's phone vibrates in her pocket, text from her daughter. "Mommy, can we have pancakes when you get home?" She smiles at the screen, thumb hovering. Richard ends the call, snaps, eyes on the road, "Not your little distractions." The word distractions lands like a slap. Elena's grip tightens. She thinks of the flash drive still warm against her skin from last week's copy job. Thinks of the notebook filling with dates, dollars, dirty deals. Thinks of the tire iron still in the trunk, heavy with rain and possibility. Evening drops like a curtain. Elena pulls into the underground garage again, parks in the same shadowed slot. Richard climbs out, doesn't look back. "Be here at 6 sharp, black tie, and for God's sake stay in the car." His footsteps echo, then vanish. Elena sits a moment longer, engine ticking itself cool. She pulls the notebook from the glove box, flips to a fresh page, writes the date, writes flat tire, highway, worthless, underlines it twice, closes the book, tucks it away. Then she reaches inside her jacket, fingers brushing the flash drive. It's colder now, but it hums with tomorrow. She steps out, locks the car, walks toward the elevator. The fluorescent lights flicker once, like they're nervous. Her reflection in the polished doors looks taller than she remembers. Shoulders squared, chin lifted. The storm didn't break her, it baptized her. Somewhere above, Richard Harlan sips scotch and counts his kingdom. Somewhere below, Elena counts heartbeats, each one a step closer to the moment the shadow stands in the spotlight. The elevator dings, doors slide open. She steps inside, presses the button for the street. As the car rises, she whispers to the empty air, "Your empire's tall, Mr. Harlan, but shadows climb." The doors close. The ascent begins. And somewhere in the dark between floors, a reckoning gathers speed, quiet as breath, unstoppable as dawn. The ballroom doors swing shut behind Elena with a soft thud that echoes like a judge's gavel. Inside, the chandeliers still drip light, but the sparkle feels poisoned now. Guests clutch pearls and phones, whispers buzzing like hornets. Richard Harlan stands at the center table, glass raised high, voice booming about legacy and unbreakable empires. The toast is halfway to his lips when the side door creaks open again. Elena steps through, uniform still crisp despite the rain, cap now tucked under her arm like a soldier's helmet. Head swivel. Richard's smile falters. She walks the length of the parquet floor, heels clicking slow, deliberate. The orchestra stops mid-note. A violin string twangs into silence. Elena stops at the podium, fingers brushing the microphone. The room inhales. She leans in. One word slices the air clean in half. Father. Glasses slip from manicured fingers, shatter on marble. A woman chokes on champagne. Richard's arm freezes midair, scotch sloshing over the rim. The word hangs there, heavy as chains, impossible to take back. Elena's eyes lock on his same grey storm, same sharp cut, but hers burn with something older than rage. The crowd parts like the Red Sea, leaving father and daughter in a circle of stunned faces. Richard's mouth opens, closes, no sound. Elena reaches into her pocket, pulls out a folded sheet, DNA results stark black on white. The paper trembles, not from fear, but from the weight of 28 years. She holds it up. Blood doesn't lie, Mr. Harlan. Rewind the reel. 28 years ago, a summer night sticky with magnolia and secrets. Richard, younger, smoother, in the back of a different limo, laughing too loud, hands too bold. Her mother, young housekeeper named Marlene, eyes bright with dreams bigger than the trailer park she came from. One weekend. One promise whispered against skin. Then nothing. Marlene left with a belly and a broken heart, raising a baby girl on night shifts and pride. Elena grew up on stories her mama told in the dark, how the man with the fancy car said he'd come back, how the letters stopped after the first. She found those letters years later, tucked in a shoebox under the bed, yellowed envelopes addressed in Richard's careless scrawl. Return to sender stamped in red. She was 16 when her mama died, cancer eating her quick. The letters became maps. Elena followed them, library computers, public records, a cousin who worked security at Harlan Tower. She learned his schedule, his coffee order, the way he never looked drivers in the eye. She applied for the job, got it, waited. Back in the ballroom, the paper flutters to the table like a white flag of war. Richard stares at the percentages, 99.9% probability of paternity. His hand shakes. The glass slips, amber liquid pooling around crystal shards. This is absurd, he stammers, voice cracking like cheap plaster. Elena steps closer. Absurd is abandoning a child and paying her to drive you around 30 years later. Gasps ripple outward. A senator backs away, chair scraping. Phones rise, red lights blinking. Elena's voice stays level, soft steel. You humiliated me in front of your friends, called me worthless while I changed your tire in the rain. But you taught me something, Father. You taught me exactly how far a man will fall to protect his name. Richard lunges, fingers clawing for the paper. Elena pulls back, smooth, practiced. Security hesitates. Whose side now? The room tilts. Power flips like a coin in midair. Elena's gaze sweeps the crowd, lands on the emerald silk woman from earlier. You told me the service entrance was around back, she says, calm. Turns out family uses the front door. The woman's face drains to ash. Laughter dies in throats. Richard's knees buckle. He grips the table, knuckles white. Elena, he whispers, first time he's ever said her name. It sounds foreign in his mouth, like a word from a language he forgot he spoke. Flashback flickers again. Elena at 22, waitressing double shifts, studying business at night school on scholarships and spite. Elena at 25, teaching her little girl to read with library books and streetlight. Elena at 27, sliding behind the wheel of the Rolls, heart hammering, telling herself 1 year, just 1 year to gather proof, to look him in the eye and say the word that would break his world. Every insult, every crumpled paper tossed at her feet, every know your place became fuel. She kept the DNA kit in her glove box for 6 months, waiting for the right drop of coffee cup, the right discarded cigar. She got it the night he fell asleep in the backseat after a merger party, snoring loud enough to cover the snip of the swab. Present moment sharpens. Richard's empire cracks in real time. Board members exchange glances, already calculating exits. A reporter in the corner live streams, lips moving silent. Elena steps onto the dais, takes the microphone fully now. Her voice fills the room, no tremor left. I didn't come for your money. I came for the truth. You built this on secrets, offshore accounts, payoffs, abandoned kids. Tonight the secrets build me. She pulls the flash drive from her pocket, holds it beside the DNA paper. 2 small weapons, 1 night. Richard sinks into a chair, head in hands. The king is naked, and the throne is cardboard. Silence stretches, thick enough to choke on. Then a single clap, slow, another joins, a black waiter near the kitchen doors, a Latina bartender. The sound spreads, tentative then bold. Not for Richard, for Elena. She doesn't smile, doesn't need to. Her shoulders drop a fraction, the weight of decades sliding off. Richard looks up, eyes wet, ruined. I didn't know, he croaks. Elena leans close, voice low so only he hears. You didn't want to. She straightens, turns to the crowd. Respect isn't inherited. It's earned, every day, even when no one's watching. She steps down, walks the same path she entered, but slower now, head high. The crowd parts again, this time with something like awe. At the door she pauses, looks back. Richard is on his feet reaching, but the space between them is a canyon. Elena, he calls, voice breaking. She doesn't answer. The doors close. Outside, rain has stopped. City lights shimmer on wet pavement, clean and new. Elena breathes deep, tastes freedom sharp as winter air. Her phone buzzes, unknown number. She answers. A producer's voice, excited, asking for an exclusive. She smiles, small, real. Tomorrow, she says. After I take my daughter to school. She slides into the roles one last time, but not as driver. Keys in her hand, future in her grip. The engine turns over, smooth as justice. She pulls away from the curb, tires whispering over puddles that reflect a sky finally clear. Behind her, the ballroom doors stay shut, but the noise leaks out, shouts, cameras, the sound of an empire eating itself. Ahead, traffic lights blink green, then green again. Elena drives toward home, toward pancakes and crayon suns, toward a life where her name means something because she made it mean something. The shadow has stepped into the light, and the light bends for no one but truth. Remember this, y'all, blood may bind us, but dignity sets us free. The ballroom doors sigh shut one last time, sealing the chaos inside like a tomb. Crystal shards crunch under retreating heels. Champagne puddles reflect the chandelier's dying glow. Richard Harlan sits alone at the head table, bow tie crooked, Scotch glass empty. The king's throne feels like a trap. Elena stands 10 feet away, uniform still sharp, eyes softer now but unyielding. The crowd thins to shadows, some slipping out side exits, others frozen, phones lowered, afraid to miss the next breath. Silence pools thick and electric. Richard's shoulders shake once, a crack in the armor. He pushes up slow, legs unsteady, and walks toward her. Each step echoes. When he stops, the space between them is smaller than it's ever been. His voice cracks like dry earth. I didn't know. The words hang raw, stripped of every boardroom polish. Tears catch the light, silver tracks down cheeks that never cried in public. Forgive me, Elena. He says her name again, tasting it like a prayer he's too late to learn. Elena's chest rises, falls. She searches his face, lines she inherited, eyes that once looked away in the rear view. The room holds its breath. She speaks soft, steady. Forgiveness isn't free, Mr. Harlan. It's earned, one truth at a time. Richard sinks to a knee, right there on the marble, suit be damned. The gesture ripples through the stragglers, gasps, whispers, a woman clutching her husband's arm. I was blind, he says, voice breaking open. I built walls with money thinking they'd keep me safe, but they kept everyone out, my soul most of all. Elena's gaze flickers, memories flood in. Nights rocking a colicky baby while the eviction notice sat on the table. Days swallowing slurs from customers who tipped in pity. The flat tire, rain in her eyes, his umbrella shielding only him. She steps closer, shoes clicking once. You called me worthless, she says, not angry now, just clear. But worth isn't measured in zeros. It's measured in mornings you get up after the world knocks you flat. Richard's head bows. I see that now. He reaches into his jacket, pulls out a checkbook, hands trembling. Causes, scholarships, your name on every building I fund from this day forward. The words tumble fast, desperate. Elena lifts a brow. Buildings don't raise children, Richard, time does, showing up does. He nods, frantic, tears splashing the polished floor. I'll be there, birthdays, graduations, every pancake morning. The promise lands clumsy but real. Elena studies him, sees the boy he must have been before the money hardened him. She exhales, long and slow. Start with breakfast tomorrow. My daughter likes blueberries. A waiter near the kitchen drops a tray, metal clatters, then silence again. Richard rises, slow, and opens his arms. Elena hesitates, heart thumping loud in her ears, then she steps in. The embrace is awkward at first, his arms too tight, hers unsure, but it settles. His chin rests on her damp cap. "Daughter," he whispers, the word cracking open something inside both of them. Applause starts small, 2 hands, then 4, then a wave that crashes through the room. Not polite claps, real ones roar, from people who just watched a mirror crack and show them their own faces. Elena pulls back first, wipes her eyes quick so no one sees. Richard keeps one hand on her shoulder like he's afraid she'll vanish. "Tomorrow," he says loud enough for the room, press conference, 10 a.m. I'm telling the world who you are, who I should have been. A reporter in the corner nods, already typing. Elena shakes her head, gentle. "Tell them who you're becoming. That's the story worth printing." Richard's lip trembles. He turns to the remaining guests, senators, socialites, security guards who suddenly look human. "I humiliated good people to feel tall," he calls, voice carrying. "Tonight I stand shorter, but finally on solid ground." The orchestra conductor, still lurking by the stage, lifts his baton. A single cello note hums low, then joins with violin, soft and aching. Couples who fled earlier drift back, drawn by the music and the miracle. Elena feels arms around her, not just Richard, but a waitress she never met, a busboy who once handed her a towel after the tire incident. The circle widens. Black faces, brown faces, white faces, all blurred by tears and hope. Someone starts humming Amazing Grace, shaky at first, then strong. Voices layer in, off-key but earnest. Richard's hand finds Elena again. She squeezes once. The song swells, fills every corner the cruelty tried to claim. Later, when the lights dim to embers, Richard walks Elena to the coat check. He helps her into a spare blazer someone left behind, too big but warm. "Your car?" he asks. She smiles, small. "I quit, remember?" He chuckles, watery. "Then let me drive." They step outside together. The night air is cool, city quiet for once. The Rolls waits at the curb, engine ticking. Richard opens the passenger door for her, first time ever. Elena slides in, buckles up. He circles to the driver's side, adjusts the seat forward, hands uncertain on the wheel. "Tell me where to go," he says. Elena looks at him, really looks. "Home," she answers. "Take the long way. We've got 28 years to catch up on." Headlights cut through the dark, tires humming over wet streets. Inside, silence isn't heavy anymore, it's full. Richard glances over. "Blueberries, right?" Elena nods. "And extra butter." He smiles, real, the kind that reaches the eyes. The radio stays off. They talk, halting at first, then easier. About her mama's laugh. About the treehouse he built at 10 and never finished. About the first time Elena parallel parked the Rolls without scraping the curb. Laughter slips in, surprised and sweet. Streetlights strobe across their faces. Father and daughter stitching a tapestry thread by thread. Back at the ballroom, the last staff member flips off the chandeliers. The room goes dark, but the echo lingers. Applause, cello, the sound of a heart learning its own beat. Somewhere across the city, a little girl sleeps under crayon sun drawing, dreaming of rocket ships. Tomorrow she'll meet a grandfather who brings blueberries and stories instead of shadows. The Rolls glides to a stop outside a modest brick building, porch light glowing like a promise kept. Elena steps out, turns. 10 a.m., she says. Richard nods. "I'll be here at 9:30 with coffee." She smiles, waves once, disappears inside. He sits a moment longer, engine idling, staring at the light in her window until it clicks off. Richard pulls away slow, hands steady now. The city feels smaller, kinder. He thinks of every person he ever looked through, drivers, maids, the kid who shined his shoes. He thinks of the walls he built, brick by brick of arrogance. Tomorrow he starts tearing them down, one apology, one scholarship, one breakfast at a time. The road ahead is long, but the rear view shows a daughter's silhouette waving goodbye, and that's enough to keep him driving straight. Here's the truth, y'all. Empires crumble when empathy wakes up. The mighty fall hardest not from scandal, but from the moment they see the humanity they stepped on to climb. Redemption isn't a headline, it's a hand reaching across a table scarred by years of silence. It's blueberries on a Saturday morning. It's choosing to drive the long way home just to hear one more story. No one is above dignity, and no one is beneath grace. When the unseen finally speak, the powerful learn to listen or lose everything worth keeping. Hold this close. Love doesn't care about net worth. It only asks that you show up, humble and whole, ready to earn the forgiveness you never deserved, but desperately need. The echo of that choice rings louder than any chandelier, brighter than any spotlight forever.